Welcome to Simply for Life. I'm Bethany Gettis, your host, a former diet and health nurse turned certified holistic nutritional consultant with over 16 years of experience in the health and wellness space. I'm here with Bruce Sweeney, Simply for Life founder and integrative nutritionist with over 30 years of expertise. Join us on the Simply for Life journey as we explore nutrition, hormonal balance, and well-being for a longer, healthier life. So welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you, Bethany. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So another great topic today. We have this one all about unlocking the superpower foods in your diet. So this is a great one for people, I think, just to help them sort of unlock that, basically supercharge their program for themselves.
Yes, and the word, as we know, superfood in our industry. Some people it gets their hair spike up in their back, so to speak, and some fully endorse it. I'm one of them. I 100% endorse it because it has its place, right? To get on the topic of superfood, it's still not regulated. And Bethany, I don't know if you knew, but a friend of mine many years ago dive into it. You shouldn't be using superfood. It's not real. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And the whole thing, it was a marketing scheme that started at World War One on bananas. They used bananas as a superfood because back then it was one of the primary food if you had celiac, because we didn't know what gluten was back in that days. And then as we move along, they saw the sales of bananas skyrocketing. And of course, they put two and two together. It's like when we use the word superfood. But I truly believe, even though it's not regulated, it does have its place. Definitely has.
Yeah, that's really interesting that that came up. And I would imagine as soon as you sort of put like a superfood out there, which the one that kind of sits on the top of my mind is quinoa, but we can get into all that. But everybody starts to buy it and it's like, oh, it's this like new fabulous food. And it's not, it's been like around for, it's an ancient grain and all that. So it just kind of makes us chuckle when we hear that. But how do superfoods actually play, I'd say, a vital role in promoting your health? And what are some key superfoods to incorporate in your meals? Because I think people don't always understand what is a superfood as well.
Yeah, and for me, I try to stay as grounded as what we can get into our local market, right? So for me, what I classify as a superfood is food that have a broad spectrum of nutrients. Because I've always say food nutrition is information to the body. Once broken down, it has all these wonderful, beautiful codes that commingles with our own codes. And they're there to really do wonderful work, whether to reduce inflammation, prevention, for hormones. There's so many metabolic function when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
food. So for me, for example, some of them, I'm a big fan of broccoli because in our days, broccoli is still fairly cheap. It's readily available. It has a broad spectrum of nutrients. It's amazing what it does for the liver. Liver is very important for our overall health and well-being and how we metabolize hormone. I'm a big fan of blueberries. I think they're superfood, but they're very expensive. So I now suggest raspberries because they're high in fiber. Eggs to me are superfood because it has not only one of the most by nature well-balanced ratio of amino acids, has the right level of fats, has choline.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheap also to consume. Let's see, liver, I have to put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
sorry. And another superfood for me is sockeye salmon.
Yeah.
And there's the population out there. For me, I've been practicing. I've never been against low carb or high carbs, but I believe in eating the right amount of carbohydrates.
Right.
So there's ancient grains I'm a big fan of. Of course, you were just saying, but
Yeah.
spelt, I like spelt a lot. So it does have its place because you want to have food that are nutritionally dense.
Yes.
So you get your biggest bang for the bucks. And one, I have to put it out there that's not coming from Canada, I've said many times, is because if I have a client that doesn't like to eat their fruits and vegetables or just pressed for time, I've always said have a kiwi. Kiwis is equivalent some way somehow to an apple, orange, banana, and a cup and a half of carrots combined together. So
Wow.
you're covering a lot of nutritional gap. You get your
Mm-hmm.
fiber into it. It tastes good, unless you have some form of allergies to kiwis, latex allergies. Wonderful superfood.
That's great. I like kind of what you said. I think you said it sort of in a nutshell was that it's like super dense nutrients in your food. So I think if people can kind of understand that, a lot of the food that is sort of made today, unfortunately, when it comes out of a box or a packet, it's all man-made and it's really stripped of its nutrients. And like you said, broccoli, bananas, like they're still fairly cheap foods to eat. And with the season changes, definitely yes, like berries can be very expensive. So what's your thoughts on advising people to go more for like a frozen berry instead? Like, is that something that you usually would recommend?
I'm huge on that. And listen, I haven't changed my story. First of all, you and I, we both know, uh, 11 months out of the years, let's just say 10, but 11 months here in New Brunswick out of the years, we don't get fresh fruits in season.
No.
So they're imported, which means they're 8 weeks old. The question you have to say, how can they stay beautiful to our eyes for 8 weeks? So
Right.
frozen, there's freeze packs now. You get no nutritional value loss. You get a better bang for your buck. And I use it in my smoothies all the time. We make jams with it.
Mhm.
Unless lately I'm going actually this weekend to go collect wild berries, right?
Ooh, fun. Yeah.
But I got a short few days windows of still available for me. So yeah, frozen. I'm a big fan, and I always say to practice the dirty dozens because I'm a big fan of buying berries that are organic. But that's where it gets really expensive, except
Yeah.
for raspberries.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Berries is a huge one here, and grapes is another one when they're out of season. Especially, when
Berries.
yeah, it's insane. So I think that's why, especially being in Canada, and you live in a place that isn't tropical, and we don't get kind of that year-round fruit and stuff. It's kind of a good idea to buy them frozen if they are sort of typically out of season. I usually say to people that like you can kind of smell it when you go in the grocery store, like when you go, like you can kind of tell what smells ripe. Like you walk by peaches and you can smell them. If you're picking them up and nothing smells, you're like, this doesn't, and it's like rock hard. You're like, this doesn't seem right. And then you cut into it and you're so disappointed. So that's kind of
100.
yeah, it's kind of a good one. So I guess with the popularity of like superfoods, because it kind of becomes sort of like trends and things like that. What are some like common misconceptions about these superfoods, like in nutrition that you encounter?
Well, the number one is it's true and not because depending on what's trending, the price in our industry sometimes goes up 30% to
Yeah.
300% just because they make it trendy. But reality is that it's expensive. Well, I'll give you an example. And some might cringe, but I'm still a fan of uh, regular oats, gluten free. It's a staple every now and then. But this morning I had 2 eggs, pastured eggs, a cup of blueberries, and a bowl of oats with some walnuts into it.
Yeah.
And the cost for that was $2.50.
There
That
you go.
was my cost to have this. You can't buy this in a drive-through. And it sustained me for about 4 hours. Then I move on to my smoothie. So, you know what? It's about knowing locally what you have,
Right.
having a better understanding of food. But let's get back to the questions. Second thing that beyond thinking that it's expensive, that it's not easily available. Some of them, they're very like, you remember the trend that we had on noni juice?
No.
They were selling noni juice about 10 years ago. I kid you not, a liter and a half for $70.
I'm
Uh,
thinking of another one, but I think it's very similar. And like you said, it's like that packed berry juice or whatever it is. Yeah, okay, I get where you're going.
and it was crazy. First of all, you lose some of the living organisms into it as a
Yeah.
juice. Second of all, it doesn't have these enzymes that we're looking out to break down and work for us. So, vegetables are not expensive if you shop. If you want to stay in the superfood that are not well advertised because they just don't sell as much, greens. Whenever you go in doubt, go greens, right? I got a hard time saying this word in English, but uh, cruciferous vegetables.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, I mean, they're multifunctional, and you want to look at the ORAC value, the amount of antioxidants in those food. They're always top on the food chains, but they're not as sexy. It's
Yeah.
very hard to increase the sales and the march on broccoli, as
Yeah.
opposed if you have an exotic fruit. Oh, that's new. They can market it in their way, and I'm not saying the food is not good, but it's class act to really generate a huge amount of profit, which turns people off in our industry to start buying healthy food.
Right. And those cruciferous vegetables, they're typically like the broccoli, the cauliflower, the Brussels sprouts. And it's all the ones that like I find it's kind of half and half with clients. It's like, do you like Brussels sprouts? And it's either like, yes, I love them, or
Oh,
no, they're disgusting. So it kind of just depends. Like we're kind of the same in our house too. We're literally 50-50 down the middle with like Brussels sprouts, but my kids absolutely love broccoli. And just kind of a note out there for families and stuff. This is kind of one I see is like that kids won't eat it. Kids
yeah.
won't eat the, the vegetables and stuff, but I have two young boys and they are like asking me for broccoli and stuff or Brussels sprouts. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? But it's because I cook it, I roast it, and even just putting a bit of sea salt or something on there, like just to make it a little bit different. Again, when you kind of over boiling things or steaming it all the time, like it's not very, like you said, like sexy, and nobody wants to eat that vegetable. But if you kind of cook it a little bit differently or add it into something like a dish, it usually is a good way to get kids to eat it as well.
And I think we forget, if you look at other countries in the world, they're very in tune with spice, herbs and spice.
Yeah.
Just that category alone is what we should be calling superfood. Because when you look at the microdose you use for spice and what it can do for the body, I call spice harmony for hormones because they exactly do that. It's like personal adaptogens that comes here, and they're multifunctional. It's amazing what they do, but they add and they come with flavor, make it more interesting.
Yes, that's going to get into my next question, actually, because we're going to go into that hormone part. But made me think of right away, like curry spices. Think about how much curry spices, like in Indian food and stuff, and the superfoods that they have in them. We love making curries in our house too. So hormonal balance, let's go into that. It's often associated with certain health challenges. How can incorporating certain superfoods into our diet help mitigate sort of the challenges that we experience with our healthy hormones?
Yeah, and I have to get back because I forgot an ingredient this morning. My oats, I had ground flax.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
big fan. Ground flax in the last 60 years has come and go. But I think that it should be classed as a superfood. To talk about hormones,
Yeah.
first of all, we know it has lignans, but it has a special type of phytoestrogens, which helps with women at managing their estrogen and progesterone ratio, right?
Right.
Hormone balance, when I say food is communication to the body, zinc, I cannot say enough. If you just look at thyroid, zinc helps convert better T4 to T3. Zinc helps also with your sex hormones. Zinc helps with men with testosterone. Oysters, you can have in oysters. In red meat, good quality grass-finished red meat. It's a little bit in poultry. You'll have it in avocado, but it's not high enough. Selenium, just look at selenium. When you look at Brazilian nut, not only it's an antidote to mercury, but selenium is so key important for our thyroid function again. So when you look at food as medicine and food to have certain important ingredients to communicate with the body, and especially in the liver. The liver, everybody's association with, because we had so many liver detox in the last 40 years, and some of them are crazy, but there's a lot of good liver detox out there. But the liver, it's like nothing people understand. Beyond detoxification, there's so many good things it does, but it's there to metabolize hormones, right? Just look at how we can manage our liver when you have estrogen dominance or you're not producing enough estrogen, so forth, so on. So food that nourishes the liver is so important. And you need also healthy fats. The omega-3 fats, we've talked about it. The saturated fat now, everybody knows saturated fat is not what we used to think, but it helps our body produce more effectively hormones. So food is amazing what it does for the endocrine standpoints. It gives message like nothing I've seen. I've seen supplements that works, no for buts, but we need food to nourish yourself. We need food to strive. And you and I can know, like I had this lady this morning, she was asking what kind of supplement gives me energy. I said, well, there's some that can stimulate you, but if you want energy, we have to go to your food source.
Yeah.
We need those macronutrients. And I think, again, it's clever marketing in our industry, and people are confused more than ever now, right?
Yeah, that's I think what I've seen too is as well is kind of in that superfood industry, it's kind of like one thing is sort of pushed along, like I said, sort of with the whole quinoa and everything, is that as soon as everybody sort of gets on board with it, it's like, oh, did you hear about this quinoa? Like, I should try it. And it's like, it's been around for ages, but again, it's just kind of like pushed through that, like, it's this brand new thing. And then it's all packaged a certain way and everything. And, you know,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah. And it's kind of sad to see because, again, it's not talked about enough. And I think part of it as well is a lot of clients, what I've noticed is they've said to me, I don't know, like I would like to eat more and have more variety, but they don't really know how to like construct the vegetable, like sometimes, or like cook it. And they're like, I've ordered this like, month at the club or whatever it is, like veggie box. And then they get these crazy vegetables and they're like, I have no idea what to do with them. So part of it as well is I think in our Western culture, we're not used to sort of having these extravagant vegetables or different things. And I always try, like at home, at least trying like one new veggie or fruit um, every now and then. And sometimes my kids will ask, like, what's that thing? I'm like, it's a star fruit. And they're like, where does that come from? And we're looking at it and I'm like, okay, it comes from this place. So I think there's a bit of education because I notice most people buy the exact same things every single time they grocery.
Over and over. And Bethany, wouldn't you agree? Like what I've seen, the trend is like when we have a new superfood. I remember 2012, 2013, when kale.
Yeah.
Kale was better than beef. So people would go on juicing, kale salad, smoothie, kale all the time. And I've seen, to a certain extreme, white estrogens and some impact with thyroid function. Too much of a good thing is not. I think the biggest impact is that people, as kind of ate so much of it, they're fed up of it, right?
Yeah.
So if we promote a superfood, we didn't say that you have to eat it 5 times a day or all week long. For me, it covers a broad spectrum of nutritional gap. It's nutritional dense. So it will support your body and commingle with your body for a couple of days. That's what makes it. If it was that super, you don't need it to eat it 5 times a day, right?
Right. And that's the repetition I've seen as well as people eat, like they say, well, I eat eggs and stuff, but then, they're having other issues. And like you said, it's kind of, they'll eat all that kale and now I've got a thyroid problem. And it's like, too much of a good thing is not always like great everywhere. And it's kind of like that, like let's find it through nutrition first. But what I've massively noticed as well is people don't have a lot of variety. They eat repetitively throughout. They buy repetitively. And it's kind of trying to find like a new way to cook something or introduce something is kind of a challenge I've seen for people as well. So
in the late 90s, mid 90s to early 2000, the big trend, you'll like this one, was carrot and carrot juice.
Okay, yeah.
People were buying these omega juicers and carrot juicers and we're drinking that. Like, I cannot make this up. At least 1 out of every 20 that people I was seeing, and it's a lot, 1 out of every 20.
Yeah.
Their skin pigmentation would turn orange.
Yeah.
They look like smokers, right? It was like okay, no, and then it's like, no, carrots are bad for you. They cause side effects. No, that's not a bad side effect, but that's going to the extreme.
Yeah.
Have it in your diet every now and then.
They're like, I can see in the dark. I have like night vision.
I glow. Yes.
But you don't want to look like an Oompa Loompa at the end of the day,
Oh my geez, it was comical.
Yeah, that is definitely like an extreme of like you're drinking, and especially in concentrated form. I think a lot of people don't really understand too, like when they're overdoing something and it's in that concentrated form, and that supplements. So like we'll kind of get into that too, because a lot of people I've noticed is, I'm lacking, like they've done a test or something and they figured out like they're lacking these certain nutrients, but then they're kind of going to the other extreme too of like, now I need to add more in. And as you know, with things like zinc and stuff, you can overdo it and unbalance other things in your body. So can you share sort of some insights into supplements, particularly for enhancing sort of our superfoods in our diet if we're not really getting it through our food?
Yes, there's 3 of them I'm going to share, and I actually prepared a little bit, but it didn't need any preparation. We're going to talk about probiotics, digestive enzymes. I'm a big fan of digestive enzymes, because this should be a whole topic we should talk about. digestion, so forth, so on. Stress, sitting in front of a screen. One of the things that my friends know, they have a number every now and then. They say, Bruce, I'm 6, I'm 12. I just sit down with Callie not too long ago, our newest consultant. I said, you're 18. She says, what do you mean? You chew about 18 times per mouthful. And she was like, well, it's something in practice. Chewing our food is extremely important. We just don't chew. We eat like pigeons or a bird sometimes. A couple of chewings we swallow right away.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of digestive enzymes, and the one I recommend, of course, it's our own brand. There's all kinds of great digestive enzymes
Right.
and pro-digestion. I suggest that one before every meal, depending on the clients, because this will facilitate digestion. It's good for elimination. There's many other benefits, but if you're eating that good and you're not metabolizing your food, it does has its place. Probiotic, I've always said, I will never get into any agreement or disagreement. There's good and bad probiotics. There's tons to choose. I'm just more comfortable with natural factors. This is the one I use because it has a broader spectrum of probiotics, but also one that we don't talk a lot and enough. And I will argue this until I'm blue in the face. It's our green powders. There's many other green products out there. Now, some, I believe they're uneducated. I still see this online and will say, there's no use to consuming greens. I 100% agree with you and I. Personally, I don't consume it because I usually eat 7 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables year round. I'd be wasting my money. But for the clients that are fussy and are not eating a broader spectrum of those colors and food, I will tell you why I 100% believe in this, because I've seen how it's done. I've seen all the vegetables. I've seen the spirulina. It's a big giant conveyor that dehydrates everything into a fine powder. So in this, it's nothing but the purest forms of fruits and vegetables, ancient grains combined together, and some herbs that are basically totally dehydrated into a fine powder. So if you take a scoop of this, it's equivalent of 2 to 3 fruits and vegetables.
That's
so as
great.
far as with phytonutrients, antioxidants. So, and this summer, it's a drink, even though I don't need it because it tastes that good. I put 2 scoops of this in a liter of water, squeeze lemon juice in the fridge. I just love the flavor. And I'm being totally transparent. I'm not drinking it because I need it. Definitely not because I'm eating an abundance of fruits and vegetables. It's because it tastes good. It's just summer, fresh. Sometimes I switch into hibiscus tea, but then my blood pressure gets too low, so I stop the hibiscus tea. But it's just a great product to have if you're fussy. You don't like your fruits and vegetables. You can put in your yogurt, smoothies, all around. So those, when it comes to replenishing, absorbing, and having a better understanding that you're getting these micronutrients, those are the 3 I use.
Yeah, definitely. For a lot of people out there where they are typically quite fussy or don't have the time to sort of make that salad and have something super fresh, because again, it could also be like a work problem where some people say like, well, I don't have a fridge or anything like that. Sometimes at the end of the day, you can make a smoothie and, like you said, put those greens and some of those, superfoods in there as well. With the pro digestion one, is that one got like specific digestive enzymes in there? Because I know there's like bromelain and everything else. Is there a combination of
yes this is for the person who tends to eat a little bit more fats and protein?
Okay.
Because my reservation and research, and again, everybody's got a different opinion, but I'm talking with experience here, is that most of our clients, when they come over here, we give them their fruits and vegetables in a raw form. So by chewing them, breaking them down, these fruits and vegetables have their own spectrum of digestive enzymes. They activate our own digestive enzymes. The one that I see I have the most challenge is that, and I'm a big fan of protein, but they tend to overdo the high protein and the fat. They're more in a almost keto.
I was going to say it sounds more like keto.
Yeah, high carb. I'm not going to put paleo because I think paleo is well balanced.
Hmm.
So they're coming to do Simple for Life, but because of their food like and dislikes, they're just not having what we're really looking for to cover all the gaps. So
Right.
that's why we'll use them. Other than that, there's other digestive enzymes are much more comprehensive. Do I use them? Depends on the clients. Yes, I will, but this is the one I stick with here. Yes.
Right. And advice to anybody not just to start anything without sort of having that consultation first and figuring it out with yourself or myself. So, because again, that's something else I come across is a lot of people are using a lot of different things. And then you're like, why? And again, either spending a lot of money or just sort of, I read about it and I thought it would be great for me, but they don't understand it's got to be sort of custom to them.
And Bethany, it's tricky out there. I had a client I was talking to from Sussex this morning, and I give him some suggestions for supplements. He says, "Well, I found this one online, and it's cheaper." I said, "It's right. Ours here at $60. You pay $32, but the potency here is 11 times more than your potency. Plus, yours has 4 fillers. So actually, you're being rip off because you have very low potency. You
Right.
have fillers that actually would inhibit and works against what you're looking for. So talking to us, facilitates and saves them a lot of time and money too.
I think clients appreciate that because again, like I kind of understand that same notion is that a client will sort of compare different things and then like you have to sort of educate them on that. And these are fillers. This isn't going to be good because of this, this, and this. And then they're like, oh, so now they can make more of an educated decision for themselves and, spend their money where they wisely want to. And obviously something that's better quality as well. So kind of other than supplements and the food itself, I heard you mention this kind of in the beginning too, but what else can people sort of do to help themselves absorb more of these superfood nutrients? Because if we're eating them and digesting them, we want to absorb the nutrients out of them. What about things like stress, mental health, emotional eating?
Oh, thank you. Breathing, 478 breathing, box breathing, but also meditation because
Mhm.
it helps your body absorb nutrients more effectively. Simple things like walking and exercise because it generates those collateral vessels, more blood flow to your digestive systems.
Yeah.
I think we don't understand how important it is. There's a reason I say nutrition is king and exercise is the queen. They really go well together.
Mhm.
In the early 70s, I was talking to Krista, one of our consultants, last week. And I think we forgot because in the early 70s, it was very popular for people with IBS or that were severely constipated and not regular to buy the small trampoline.
Oh
And
yeah.
just jumping on the trampoline
I
itself,
do.
it's a good workout.
Yeah.
It does get you going. It really does. So little things like that, that tells us that was to a different level, but increasing blood flow to our digestive system is extremely important. I think people are not eating in front of a TV. I mean, we all do it. I take time to sit down with Claudine, and in the morning, I'd be an hypocrite if I say I'm bang on, but I always aim for my smoothie and one meal per day that I'm not distracted, no loud noise. I have a beautiful talk or conversation with my wife, or sometimes we don't talk much. But
Mhm.
one thing for sure, I'm not distracted and I'm focused on the food I'm eating. I take time to chew my food, right? Because there's times I don't take time to chew.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be eating in your car. If you look at the Europeans, they don't even have coffee cups in their car.
There's no room.
No,
Yeah.
they go, stand up, have coffee, socialize first thing in the morning, and they take time to sit down, talk, enjoy the food, cook the food. And I know it can be challenging, but reality is that the more you can sit down and connect with your food, the better those information message that you're getting from your food is going to interconnect it with your own body's ability to do what it needs to be done. Because our body has all the capability to prevent and heal itself, but it needs that reinforcement, that fuel, those nutrients, phytonutrients, those codes that we get from food, right? And if we're
Mhm.
stressed, we're disconnected, we're missing some important pathways, right?
Yeah, it's a couple of things that came up as interesting. Reminded me of a cartoon I once saw, like a picture, and it was a zebra like in stress, and it had a lion chasing it, and it was showing its digestive tract basically like on high alert, and it just made me really think about sort of if we're in that like hyper arousal state, and you're in a argument or anything, or you're stressed and you're driving, you're like trying to eat at the same time, our body isn't going to properly digest that food because it's in a different state. It's trying to sort of deal with that stress right there and then. So I usually say to people, rest and digest. And if you watch animals, like especially like I have a dog, like as soon as she eats, she goes and lays down. She's done. She's like, I need to like digest my food. And that's what most people are kind of lacking, is that we're sort of putting food in our stomach and then we're running out the door, going to take kids here, take kids there, or go to appointments and stuff. And our body's sort of like not absorbing it, right? Like it's just sort of passing through us.
And look at even individuals that eat healthy and they're still in a little bit stress. Well, to get a little bit technical, well, if cortisol stays high, we know that that is just in perfect alignment to have insulin resistance. So our body is trying to metabolize glucose more effectively. And Bruce, I'm eating the right food, the right amount of carbs, but I cannot lose weight. So it's not that the act of not having your phone is a fat burning method. It's just that our body's programmed to work a certain way and we get into in a state that's totally disconnected. So insulin resistance, we cannot say enough. It's the holy grail to be interconnected to pretty much everything from Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, inflammation, you name it. So spending time at the table, knowing your food, being disconnected, taking time to chew.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think, even just like what you said, one meal, at least one meal a day, aim for that. Cause I think most people think, oh, it means I have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like all at the table. But again, people are very busy, and we usually aim for that too in our household. Is like, it's usually either a lunch together with somebody or usually a dinner. So that way you can sit down with your family. And we're very much bigger components of like no TV on like the main floor or anything, and phones away when we're eating as well. So
Yeah, and I think that we have the ability to more reconnect to see what's going on, right? As a mom, I'm sure you're so in tune. You can
yeah.
just see by the body language, facial expression, how they're eating,
Yeah.
to ask the right questions. And this is a luxury of life that we have that we don't want to let go. In relationship, communication at the table, I mean, we can solve and resolve many things about our day and how we
Yeah.
feel or what we're concerned about. That also, it's heavily connected with digestion, how we absorb nutrients.
Definitely. Yes. I think paying attention, and as soon as I come out of my office, my kids, usually when I go to make food, it's they kind of want to have that talk. So for me, it starts when I start making dinner. I kind of get the like they want to sit and talk to me and show me all the stuff that they've done for the day, and then it goes into the table. So it's kind of like it's a nice way to sort of like come down from a day and everything. And yeah, it's a great way to sort of sit with your spouse at the table and kind of go through your day. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, Bruce. Really
Thanks, Bethany.
appreciate that. And so we'll leave the links to the supplement store and both of our contact details in the show notes for your listeners here. And don't forget to share this episode with family and friends. So stay tuned for more on the Simply for Life journey. In good health, everybody.
Bye, everybody.